survive in Nottingham?
There's a tax on every scrap, every penny that you have.
And you're starving, but collectors come around on the stage.
In Nottingham,
Every scrap, every penny that you have.
gotta try, but you just what it takes here to survive.
No honest work, so an honest man can provide.
You never know when you'll lose the roof over your head.
In Nottingham,
Lose the roof over your
but you just what it
Nothing.
Honest work, so an honest man can provide.
You never know when you'll lose the roof over your head.
in Nottingham,
Lose the roof over your
but you just what it
Nothing.
Honest work, so an honest man can provide.
You never know when you'll lose the roof over your head.
Nottingham, how do you survive in Nottingham?
There's a tax on every scrap, every penny that you have.
And you're starving, but collectors come around on the stage.
In Nottingham, gotta try, but you just what it takes here to survive.
No honest work, so an honest man can
You
provide.
never know when you'll lose the roof over your head.
In Nottingham,
Nottingham. Watch them run and hide in Nottingham. They cry taxes are a burden while they sneak around like vermin. Everyone must pay their dues.
How would the war get funds without you?
They should be thankful for what I do in Nottingham.
Good King Richard has gone to a holy war to do the righteous work of our sovereign Lord.
now it's all taxes, persecution, leaving the poor to starve.
And we pray night and day that salvation's on its way, knowing justice belongs to the Lord. I have faith He will provide.
In Nottingham, how do you survive in Nottingham? When every day is a struggle, every morning brings new trials, the sheriff gives us no relief. When will God end this endless grief? We need a guardian.
Okay, here we go.
It says broadcast is going.
Da 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 da
Probably
da.
want to open up the Facebook thing.
Okay. It's working. It should be fine.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Okay.
We're just figuring out all of our kinks, getting all of our kinks out. But hello, I am Erin.
I'm Jeremy.
We're with the Faithful Troubadour Publications. So we just wanted to have a little Q&A session today where we could talk with people, all of you, about what we do and what we're writing and our current projects and future projects and past projects and basically anything.
Basically anything. You can ask us about, you know, anything in the world, and we'll...
Well, I mean, it'd be great if it was, like, related to things we know about that we can actually tell you about. So, to get us started, though, so, like, anytime you have a question, just type it in the comments, and...
It'll hopefully show up on here.
It will, and we will answer it right away. If anyone wants to test that comment system, that's fine.
That would be awesome!
But, so, to get started, I want to give you a little bit of update on our 2 shows that we have up on the website already, which is SCARLET and FRACTURED.
Yeah.
So, for SCARLET, that one is all up and running,
Blam.
and the music is there, and we have a theater that is producing it in Charlotte called Charlotte Christian Theater, and they're going to be producing it March 16th through the 18th.
Yay!
So if you're in North Carolina or in the area and want to make the trek out there, it's going to be really, really cool. They're doing things very differently than we did it when we premiered it, which is really exciting. So we won't tell you all of the secrets we know.
That definitely could get us in trouble.
Yes.
But, you know, that's like the biggest joy as a writer for us, is to give up control of something rather than to be trying to hold it in. Like, we really love that feeling of, we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. They're taking our script and they're making something amazing with it, and that's, you know, for us, there's no greater joy than that. So we're super excited about that.
So it should be very good, and we're going to be there in Charlotte all week, so if anyone is out that way, we would love to chat and get coffee or see you at the show or things like that. We are very, very excited to be there and to support them in that. And what Jerry was talking about with trying to make our scripts very director-friendly and flexible and have a million interpretations. Fractured is very much like that, which is our next musical that is coming
Let's
soon.
see if I can do this. Wait, I don't know if it worked.
I don't know either.
I'm doing stuff. Hold
Jeremy's worked hard to
Blam.
make our live stream very fancy.
Look at that. Blammo.
Yeah, so we have the script for Fractured is now totally ready for perusal. And so you can send us an email, contact us through our website, and we can send you a script to look at. We're getting demos made for it all the time.
And we've had a few people sending interest already. And what's really great is now that the perusal is available, you can shoot us an email, and we'll send you the script for you just to look over the whole thing. The demos are kind of up and going slowly, slowly but surely. And the score is being written as well this month, which is exciting. So it's ready, so you guys can go and check it out now.
Yeah, so it's definitely at a point now where prospective theaters and schools and churches and things like that have something you can at least look at to see if this is a show you might be interested in. It's definitely very different from what you might expect for Jekyll and Hyde. We have the question. It's from Kimberly Miscavige.
Who's that? Fractured is, I mean, it really is just an attempt to play with people's expectations, because it's such a popular story, but it's so small, it's so short. We were able to really take that and just flip a lot of things upside down. So we changed the setting, we changed the tone a ton. There's an original main character named Lizzie.
We talk about her on one of our behind the scenes videos.
Right, it's in the hide and seek behind the scenes blog you guys can look at on YouTube, right? It's super cool. But yeah, Fractured is really a departure from what you might expect, and we like wrote it to be that way.
Yeah. So the question we got is, what is the name of your third musical, and where did you get the inspiration for it? So third musical is kind of a toss up in the air as to what we might refer to as our third musical.
Okay, our third musical is FAIRYTALE.
But technically, we started working on JOAN before we even thought of FAIRYTALE.
Yes, but that was no. Our third musical is FAIRYTALE, and it is a comedy aimed at younger audiences that's specifically playing with the tropes in fairy tales. And again, sort of to play with expectations, similar to Fractured, but in a much lighter setting. So it follows a princess named Claire, who's sort of a cross between Snow White, Cinderella, and Sleeping Beauty.
No, Claire is like none of them.
But she's none of them at the same time. That's kind of the the joke of the show is that she's filling this role. She has the evil stepmother and the evil stepsisters and also the evil queen, and they're all kind of squished together. But she doesn't have any desire to be part of that fairy tale story. She's not interested in the prince. She's not really interested in being a monarch or a ruler, and that she is really frustrated with that.
Yeah. So the inspiration a lot for this show was we were just really thinking about how a lot of times you see in fairy tales, like, the same things always happen. Like, you know, there's always the knight in shining armor and somehow rescues the princess in one way or another, and that there's always a very princess character that's always very, you know, sweet and kind and polite, and there's kind of these things like this that are in a lot of fairy tales. And so just thinking about how a lot of kids these days struggle with, like, peer pressure and, like, identity and trying to fit into a stereotype or meet expectations or things like that. And so just seeing a correlation between that idea and this idea of tropes and fairy tales, and just really wanting to write something that shows how what our identity is all about is about the gospel. And it's not about these other things, although God did make us all unique and individual. That's not really what we're supposed to be all about. We're not supposed to be all about everything we are, but everything that Jesus is. So, yes.
So dealing with identity is something tricky, and we're aiming at younger audiences, but we want to make it clear that writing a show that specifically deals with who am I and these sort of the existential crises is completely appropriate, and something that like younger kids can totally grasp in their own way, but it's something that adults will also cling to very strongly. So we want to have that flexibility with the script.
Yeah. And as more people start tuning in, you know, if you have a question about anything, just comment it in the comments. It works. We just tried it. So
it works.
It works.
That's the only promise we can make, is that we'll see it.
Yes. So,
Aaron, you want to show them your awesome shirt?
It is pretty cool. I got it for Christmas. It has corgis, and there's 3 of them, and they're all wearing hats, and they're on a bicycle all together. It's really great.
Yeah.
We have a pet corgi, so
she's adorbs.
She's being very good right now because we gave her a huge treat. Yep.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for people to roll in, do you want to talk about Fractured, or do you want to talk about FAIRYTALE, or about Atlantis?
We can talk about whatever the people want to know, so if there's something you want us to talk about, you should comment about it.
Blam.
But let's talk about Fractured a little bit more. We're still looking for a place to premiere Fractured, and kind of do that maiden voyage with the show, which can be kind of scary, but we think it'll be a really fun show. We think a director can really do a lot with it. So we've been talking to a few different places, just trying to find a home and a timeline that works, because we are still working on the score and getting that all finished up and ready. So, you know, Jeremy doesn't have to be music director for people to know the music. So we are working on that. Yeah,
for Fractured, a lot of stuff was we would just write lyrics, and I would just kind of remember things, which is not the most efficient way to write a score, but it kind of worked out. So now I'm going back, and I can show you here. And basically what we're doing is going through the score, you know, and adding in instrumentation, and really making everything sound really kind of modern while still vintage sounding and jazzy sounding. It's really kind of fun. So we're working on that. What's wrong? Nothing. Okay. So that's been really fun. It's slow going. It's definitely like a very slow process for me. And as I'm kind of improving in orchestration, it kind of speeds up slowly. But it's slightly more complicated than the Scarlet score, which was just a string trio. It was very much like my comfort zone. And this is using wind instruments, which is trickier because wind instruments have to be able to breathe and things like that.
Music stuff.
So this month, I'm going to basically start with a piano score and get the whole show done to the point where it can be starting to, like, the pianist can start to practice, or a cast can start to work with it. And then over the next couple months after that, I'll really hit the orchestration hard. So that's what Jeremy is doing.
Yeah, then I'm working on getting the devotional book together for Fractured, so that directors can have a little bit of little spiritual devos to go along with stuff, and to pull out different themes to be able to be teaching their kids. Because a lot of times when we write a musical, you know, there's a lot of themes that we're thinking about, or things that are behind a song that we don't necessarily get to talk very specifically about in the show. But we really found in Scarlet that really just being able to pull on those themes and to really show them to the kids that, like, Guy of Gisborne has a lesson we can learn from him, and, you know, what is Hope is on the Rise, what is that talking about, stuff like that. It really helps to brighten the musical and to really just give the cast that extra perspective that I think really reads well to the audience.
Yeah. So those devos, which are basically short studies based on a character or a song. What are you doing? Okay, it's fine. A character or a song that Aaron is kind of writing up, and we're including those with the script, so that directors have that option to basically to use those to kind of further just teach the kids during that time. So they're great. They're helpful.
Yep. So we can talk about anything. We have FAIRYTALE up behind us on the board. We'll be working the draft. It's very scary for Jeremy.
It's a very painful process.
I put lots of little red X's, which is very painful for Jeremy.
Yeah. So FAIRYTALE, I wrote the whole script during NaNoWriMo, script and score.
And NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month.
Yes. So Erin's a novelist, so she writes a book during November. And I don't write books, but I didn't want to be bored. So I wrote a score and a script. And then I basically handed it over to Erin, and we did a little read-through session with some friends, and now we're just completely tearing it up. Like, I think pretty much every song has been changed.
Or moved.
Or
given to a new person.
4 or 5 scenes have been deleted. Just a lot of stuff, which is hard for me, but as part of the process is you can't be married to any individual thing. No moment, no song or line is as important as the show overall is. So that means that my favorite song will probably be cut from the show. But it's fine, because the message and the ministry is what matters to me, and no one will know it was there, and no one will miss it, except for like 4 people who heard it. Whoopsie daisy.
We'll all miss it. Yeah, so we are like 100% available. We have some songs picked out from all of our different shows. So all of the shows that are kind of being worked on right now, we obviously have Scarlet and Fractured, which are both written, they're done. And then we have Atlantis, which is a very fun show that we can talk about if you ask about it. And we have FAIRYTALE, which we have talked about a lot already. And then we also have JOAN, which is kind of on the back burner. It's a musical about Joan of Arc that it just really takes some really careful storytelling with it.
Right.
So
yeah, Joan is in very early stages.
We have a lot of really beautiful music written for it, but we don't have a perspective for the story yet. So
yeah,
trying to find that.
That's definitely like several years away from being done. Definitely.
Yeah, but I'm like super passionate about it. So
Aaron likes Joan.
So we can totally talk about any of those things. Talk about anything at all. If you just comment below with a question, we would love to talk about it. But yeah, but we can talk a little bit about our whiteboard.
Our whiteboard. Okay.
So yeah, we try very hard. Like we talk about on our website, to have a really excellent script, to have really good pacing. So we have right now all of the Act 1 and Act 2 scenes from FAIRYTALE written on here with all of the songs we've written so far, and it's been just reworked, and there's lots of red X's for scenes that we need to drastically change what happens in the scene, or it's a new scene, scenes with little check marks. Those scenes get a pass. They're good. Good job.
There's very few check marks. Why don't you talk about what pacing is for those of us who might not know what that means?
Okay, well, good pacing is when you're watching a show and you're totally engaged, and then all of a sudden it's intermission, and you're like, but it's been 5 minutes, but it's actually been an hour.
That's a terrible explanation.
But like that's what good pacing feels like,
yeah.
Is you are not noticing like time slowing down or speeding up. Like it just feels
right. I mean, pacing is being mindful of sort of the emotional state of your audience. In every given moment of the show, paying careful attention to what are they feeling, what are they thinking about right now, and is when you're walking them through a series of concepts, because a show is that. I mean, it's a story, but there's very clear like basic building blocks of emotions that you're trying to lead them through. So good pacing happens when those emotions move from one to the other in a way that's smooth, in a way that's fun. Bad pacing is when things are super jarring, or where things are on stage that you don't care about.
Don't care about that.
Then pacing is ruined because the audience can disengage with that.
Yeah.
So with using our whiteboard, basically what we're doing is we're writing out the scenes and then we're moving them in different orders. We're placing them in different places. So we took a very important ballad in Act 1, for example, that originally was sung by Alex, who's sort of our knight in shining armor character, and we moved that to Act 2, and we changed the character who sings it to be...
I forgot about that.
Yeah, changing the perspective, because while that's a great song, it's not enough that it's a good song. It didn't fit pacing-wise with the show overall, and so that kind of stuff can be hard to let happen. Because you get emotionally invested as a writer, but it makes the show better. And since we're specifically, these shows are ministry, it's, bad pacing is one of the main ways that you lose your authenticity, you lose your authority as a writer and as a performer, and the audience checks out, and then they don't buy into the message as much because they don't believe in the show.
Yeah, and that's obviously really important to us because we feel like our shows we want them to be evangelical resources, that, you could invite someone who's not a Christian to the show and they would still be able to get something out of it, and still be able to see the gospel really clearly and see the message really clearly, and to see, like, really what Jesus has to offer, without already knowing all of the lingo or the slang or already having bought in. We need to earn that trust in order to really present the gospel well and for people to listen.
Yeah, it's important.
So lots of people tuning in, very excited. So we can play music, we can answer questions. We are at your disposal, otherwise we will just keep rambling about all of these things.
Rambling is helpful. Rambling is great.
You can comment below with your fingers.
So we have some music that we can show you guys today, live on air, that might go good, and I might make a ton of mistakes. But that will be a thing that we can do a little bit later. Let's talk a little bit about Atlantis, though.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Aaron just walked away. Ha! So, if you guys are familiar with the kind of the concept of the lost city of Atlantis, like if you've heard stories about it, or if maybe you've seen the Disney movie. Atlantis is kind of a utopian idea by the famous philosopher Plato.
I did all the research.
Yeah, I watched the Disney movie.
I did a lot of research. Like, I read all of the conspiracy theories. Like, I could probably be pretty easily convinced that Atlantis is real, even though it's totally not.
It's definitely not. It's a city at the bottom of the ocean that is ancient and technically advanced, or technologically advanced.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like a part of the theory. The philosophy is very much about, when Plato first talked about Atlantis, it was very much about hubris and about, pride cometh before the fall. And it was very much a story about that, which, as we really started looking into it, is where we really got our inspiration from it, just hearing about the story about this city, and it was just becoming so amazing. You might recognize what story I'm talking about in a second, but it's so amazing and so big, and making all these advances, and just really basking in their own glory, and then it, sinks to the bottom of the ocean.
Yep. And that reminded us a lot of the Tower of Babel story. So that's why we sometimes call it Babelantis when we're talking about it. But there's such good parallels between the Tower of Babel building up this giant tower at the center of a city to try and ascend to basically be equal with God, and the way that pride and that ultimately leads to their downfall. And so Atlantis... in our version, we're basically playing with this idea that the lost city of Atlantis in this sort of, I don't know, I guess you'd call it like a fairy tale, kind of fanciful setting.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's lots of room for interpretation.
Right. Is sort of basically mirroring or is the new Babylon with the new Tower of Babel. And they're continuing their work under the ocean. So we follow a team of people who are just looking for the lost city based on legends and, like, you know, crude maps that they've created, and they find it. And it's just about that culture and how that Tower of Babel story can kind of come to life in a theater setting.
So we have a question that is, if someone wants to produce one of your plays, what are the steps that must be taken from purchasing to production to the end? Well, if there's a play that you might be interested in, you can contact us on our either our Facebook page, send us a message, and we'll get you hooked up the right way. You can send us an email at contact@thefaithfultroubadour.com, or you can, if you go to our website and go to contact, and it'll bring you to this page, and there's a little form there that says send us a message. Really, we just need your name and what you want to tell us. Feel free to fill out your phone number if you're wanting to set up a phone conversation or a Skype call or email, things like that. Oh gosh, we do love tacos. And you can get in touch with us that way to get a script to go ahead and look at. After that, there is an application to fill out, and from that we make the contract that we'll send to you, and then we send you all of the materials, and then you just go off with it.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're always like 100% available to chat with you. We went to Charlotte. You can probably go back to us. We went to Charlotte to talk with CCT about Scarlet and about some things about how we wrote it and messages in it and just different stuff, whatever they had questions about.
Right. It's not the thing that we can just fly all over the country going to different theaters, we would definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a driving distance away and there's some place we can crash at, we would come.
Yeah. So basically, you can go on there and you can start a conversation with us about that, and then we can talk about pricing for essentially what you're doing is you're licensing the script and the score, and there's different packages that you can select based on your needs. And then from there, you're given access for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, however long. Yeah.
And then basically you have the rights to produce the show, and you receive materials from us that help you do that.
Yep. So that's how you do it. Do you want to play a little song, Jeremy? We both are coming off of cold, so Jeremy is definitely.
I'm not. It's not going to sound great, guys, but it'll be passable.
We can play a song. We can play a song from Fractured or Atlantis or FAIRYTALE or JOAN. So whoever comments and lets us know what song that they want to hear, what show they want to hear a song from. Yeah, I'm working real hard to get you guys to comment.
It's very important to
I really want to feel connected with all of you. It's kind of weird talking to us. We're just looking at a picture of us.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
So if you comment about a show that you want to hear a song from, well, Jeremy will play a song.
Right. In the meantime, we can play you something that we worked up. So with Atlantis, we talked a lot about the sound that we wanted the Atlanteans to have.
Yeah,
They're
we wanted there to
a detached culture. They're very kind of retro and yet modern.
Yeah, there's lots of. I mean, a director could do a lot with what they want the Atlanteans to look like. And I mean, the whole show, like, we don't nail down a time period, which gives directors a lot more flexibility in when they want the people from our world to be existing.
Mm-hmm. So part of that is going to be the music. So we are kind of debating about this exact style that we're going with, but we talked a lot about everything from like Fleetwood Mac and sort of like 90s and early 2000s pop rock, and we talked about doing like K-pop style EDM music with hip-hop influences, and it's kind of all sorts of things. So with a score like that, you would basically receive an instrumentation version, like a written paper that you'd play with your own instruments, or you could use a performance track that would be pre-recorded. So I can play that a little bit. You can see what it's going to sound like.
Everyone's saying they want to hear from Atlantis. So what we can do is We'll show you a little clip. Are you showing this screen?
Hold on. Now I am.
Oh, hello.
It's Logic.
So this is Logic Pro X, which Jeremy used to make all of our performance tracks and things like that for the stuff and the things.
You know so much about it, clearly.
And so we can play you a little snippet of what the sound we're kind of playing with for the Atlanteans right now. And there's no lyrics in this, but you'll be able to hear the sound, and then we'll play a song from Atlantis. That's not the Atlantean thing.
So we'll play this, you guys. If one of you guys wouldn't mind just putting a comment in, letting me know how the audio levels are, if everything sounds good. And I'm going to put on headphones so I can actually hear what I'm doing. So, this would be the part that we sung over. But it's kind of EDM, it's pretty fun. You're a good dancer.
I am a good dancer. I didn't know they could see me dancing.
Yeah.
So this is the verse.
So this would have basically a conductor would need to be there, or the performers would practice singing along with this. There'd also be a written version that you could just play with the piano as basic for the band. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah, the whole song is right now. This is the chorus. And then we really wanted
Oh man, it is definitely not something that we're particularly adept at writing, but we're gonna learn through it. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be an adventure. So writing that kind of music is something that we've never done before.
I mean, it's been a huge learning curve for me to learn how to write pop lyrics. I'm very, very used to writing very literal, very narratively driven lyrics. That's very much what Scarlet has and Fractured has. And Atlantis is really a big departure for us in trying to write things that are not quite so tied down to that moment in the show.
Yeah.
And it relates very strongly to what's happening in that show, and it works beautifully. But you could take it out of context and it would still make complete sense, and there would still be some way to relate to what's happening and stuff like that. So
Right.
So that's the sound that the Atlanteans have, and the people from our world, which sounds weird, sounds like they're aliens.
From our
From
world.
our world, they have a very different sound, which is very much, we were very inspired by Tuck Everlasting, which was on Broadway last year, and just that style of music and that style of
Oh,
writing
it
lyrics.
says broadcast interrupted. What does that mean?
It should come back. I think it's working okay.
I'm just gonna check. Anyway,
Yeah, it was just, it's good.
it's good. So, with that kind of setting, what that allows for, it allows for a theater that maybe doesn't have a super good band or a big orchestra to just come in and just play tracks. There'd be a track for every song in the show. That would be part of that package that you could get from the website. Alternatively, there would be a score where you could just, if you have a really strong band, you could actually just play that live.
One moment.
That's not good. I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah, it could be we're getting a lot of snow here. Could be something to do with that. I don't know.
All right, guys, hold on for 1 second.
searching on the Google. Zach says he can still hear us. Zach, we appreciate that.
Okay. All right. So it looks like it's kind of coming in and out. We're still learning about this. This is new for us. A lot of software to
and
manage.
it could have something to do with the weather. We're going to go ahead and keep rolling. And we'll play this song, and hopefully after that, it'll clear up. So
Okay.
which one from Atlantis do you want to do?
Right. Well, we only have the one that we can really do. If you want to play a song, I'm so nervous. It's fine. All right, Aaron, you're gonna be in charge of scrolling, okay?
Okay.
So this would be like scene 5, act 1. Is that approximately where it is? All aboard.
It's scene 4, I think.
I have no idea. It's not written yet.
It's in the show.
It's in the show at some point. So for the Explorer crew, we wanted to do more of a rock sound, and very, very much like a pop rock kind of exciting and bright sound. I'll play this on a piano. But you guys all have to use your imagination a little bit. All right, you ready?
I'm just pulling up my comment thingy because I accidentally clicked away from it.
Awesome.
I know. I'm a helper.
You're a helper. Okay. Well, I can start this off.
All right.
Can you smell that salty sea air? Feel the warm sun blazing down. The day that we've been waiting for has finally arrived. Hear the captain shout, all aboard, and off they go under the waves to a brave new world. All aboard, no stopping now, it's sink or swim, where no one's ever been. Whoa!
Dance break.
One last glimpse of the sun before it's too late.
Last glimpse of the sun before it's too late.
One last glimpse of the sun before it's too late.
Last glimpse of the sun before it's too late.
Alright, this will be our 2 lead characters. And all aboard and off we go. Will I even make it home? Steady my hands, God, steady my mind, and I will dive into the danger. I will gaze down every fear. I won't let my doubts dissuade me if you keep your spirit near. Though we may not see tomorrow, though we cannot stop today, there is no turning back. Forget your fear, leave it behind. All aboard and off they go under the waves to a brave new world. All aboard, no stopping now, it's sink or swim. All aboard and off they go under the waves to a brave new world. All aboard, no stopping now, it's sink or swim, where no one's ever been. Where no one's ever been. Where no one's ever been. Whoa. Ta-da.
So that's like our favorite song from Atlantis so far. And we cut out a little bit so it wasn't quite as long.
Yeah.
But so that's very much the sound of Atlantis that we're going for.
Yeah.
And then the Atlanteans is the bit we played before. So we want there to be a really big contrast.
Yeah.
So
And there's,
they
I
go
think,
there.
how many? We have like what, 6 songs I think written for Atlantis.
Mhm.
So an average show would probably have between 15 to 20. So it gives you an idea of kind of the progress we've made on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Atlantis.
Yeah.
That's
So, any questions about Atlantis, we can talk about it. Questions about FAIRYTALE, about Fractured, about SCARLET, about Joan. Notice how we really like having only one word titles. I think it's just easier to reference them that way.
We actually had a big debate once about whether fairy tale was one word or two words.
It's one word.
She won that argument.
I Googled it.
It's fine. I'm not bitter.
Yeah.
Anywho, that's, yeah. And you guys also make comments, if you wouldn't mind. Make sure the audio quality is all sounding good. If anything sounds weird, let us know, please.
We can maybe fix that.
We can maybe fix that.
Maybe.
So next week, we are doing another Fractured demo.
I forgot. Yes, we're doing a demo of When Dreams Collide, which is one of the ballads from the show that Lizzie O'Connell sings. It's another Lizzie song that comes from a very hard moment for her in the show without giving all of the details away.
All the details.
But Kelsey Rosenberg is coming in to sing it for us. And she sang for Agatha on the soundtrack and in our premiere of Scarlet. And she is super awesome. She is also a playwright, aspiring playwright.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really exciting to be partnering with her on this.
Kelsey's just she's just super talented, and she's like one of the sweetest people.
Super talented, Kelsey.
Yeah. So the plan is that similar to, if you guys haven't seen them yet, please go and check out the Fractured demos. They're on YouTube. They're super fun. And
we're really thankful to all of the kiddos and not kiddos who have come and helped us out with them.
They're adults, dear.
Yeah, I know, they're adults.
Zach, you're an adult.
Yep, and Zach, who sang "Smell the Roses," he actually did our little weird logo thing down there. He designed that for us, and we think it's super awesome.
Oh yeah, this thing I can do. Bam.
Woo.
Wow.
So the inkwell note over there, we're really, really thankful for that. Zach says, question about Joan, what is it? Also, sounds great, video is a bit choppy. Well, hopefully that is just the snow. I'm glad you can hear us. That's nice.
Good. So Joan is the story of Joan of Arc. And we take that for granted. Not everyone actually knows who the heck Joan of Arc is.
I know, it's crazy.
She was a French girl during the 100 Years' War, which is a big war between France and England. Kind of.
Well, it was a war over the throne, the French throne. And like there was like the French people and the Burgundians are on the side of the English, and they want an English king, and the French people want a French king, and it was like a whole thing. You're
gonna notice a trend here that Erin knows this stuff because she does the research, and I do this, and that's what we do together. So with Joan of Arc, it's a true story, which is a new thing for us.
Yeah, and
it's based on history, which is really cool.
Yeah, and out of
so
anyone
amazing.
in the Dark Ages, we know the most about Joan. We have words she actually spoke, and there is definitely a lot of controversy around Joan's story, and so we spent a long time just kind of really researching her and trying to figure out, like, because the secular world would definitely say she's crazy. She was definitely crazy, and I think that, you know, we really talked about, like, she didn't have, the Bible was not translated into French or English. It was still Latin at that point. Mass was still in Latin. And just, you know, like, how, like, in order to do the thing she did, like God would have had to been paving the way for her, and there would have had to been this divine intervention, and she would have had to have this courageous faith, like, in order to do the thing she did. And we think it's a really inspiring story. But one we really want to handle very carefully, which is why we're taking our time with it for sure.
Right, because this is a true story. We want to be just as careful as we can to not misrepresent her, while still making it an inspiring story that's got a really big ministry emphasis and a theme. You know.
Yeah.
But Joan was super interesting. So she was basically a teenage girl, who. She basically received a vision from God, as the story goes, that she needed to go and find the next king of France.
Well, to go to the Dauphin.
The Dauphin. What's a Dauphin?
The Dauphin is the, like, son of the king. It's a French word, like
a relative of a king. Who knows? Anyway, so what she does is she goes and finds him. Basically says that we need to end the war. and I'm gonna make that happen because it seems like no one else is being able to do that.
Well, and she doesn't really, like, the way she talks about it in the writing we have from her, she doesn't really talk about, like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be a soldier and I'm gonna, like, win the war. It's much more like she was always kind of like, I didn't really know what I was getting into. I just knew that this is what God was calling me to do. And she always spoke of going back home after the war and things like that, and just returning to her life. She trained to be a spinstress, so like making the yarn and stuff.
Literally wanted to be a spinster. Yeah.
But just she loved her family, she loved her parents, and just really dreaming of going back there after the war was over one day. I never really expected her life to turn out the way it did, but even until the end, she kept her faith in God and just trusted Him wholeheartedly, which is really inspiring. It's weird for me to not know, but Joan was like burned at the stake for being a heretic.
Yes, it's definitely a tragedy. She was a martyr, and as the story goes, eventually, after having great success working with the French, she is eventually captured, and the details of her capture are one of the most debated things about her story. And that's one of the things that we're really trying to kind of piece together as best we can and present sort of a nice and clear version of that event. So she gets captured and she's tried in a court as a heretic.
And it's very, like, you can read the trial, and she's pretty snarky and stubborn, and doesn't really like to get pushed around. And they were definitely very manipulative in their questions, and so it was really easy to kind of nail something on her. And so they nailed her for a heretic. And try to be
the thing that she ends up being burned at the stake,
right? But she is like, okay, fine, I'll repent of that,
right?
And then she's like, no, like, I do believe God told me to do this. Like, I'm not gonna just bend and say I didn't.
So fear takes over, and she gives in, and then, but soon after, she feels that conviction, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna stand for what I believe in, knowing full well the consequences will be her death. And so she eventually decides that nothing is going to dissuade her. And there's this great song in our version called Don't Be Like Them.
No, I think we changed it to I'll Never Let Them Change Me.
No, it's called Don't Be Like Them.
Okay, we're going to talk about that.
We'll talk about that later. And she decides to, and she's killed. They burn her at the stake for being a heretic.
I think the actual charge they nail her on, though, because they couldn't, like, prove she was a heretic, is cross-dressing.
It's cross-dressing, because she was wearing armor in the army, and so they kill her. And essentially what happens is the war takes a turn after that. Joan's death is almost more inspiring than her life. And the French really rally behind that picture of this girl who stood up for what's right, and they win the war.
Yep. And later the church was like, never mind, we don't think she was a heretic, and now she's a saint.
I guess, yeah.
So, we do have a song from Joan. That we
do?
Play a bit of, Summer's Day.
Summer's Day.
Which is a song we originally written to be in Act 2 when she goes home for a little period of time when there's a truce.
Where is that?
And Jeremy's gonna find it.
Is it in the Google Doc?
Maybe.
Maybe. Let's go look. All right. I'm going to find these lyrics. Aaron can stall.
Yeah, so we moved it. It's now going to be at the end of Act 1. And something she kind of sings inspires the troops. And there's a big thread in Joan of this idea of a summer's day and looking forward to, like, when the war is over and these kind of things.
Nope, it's not in there.
Is it in your Evernote?
Yeah.
So these kinds of things with, the summer's day when the war is over. And then just seeing, like, such a huge parallel with that and with our summer's day as Christians is when we get to go to heaven. And, Joan sings about it in Act 2, and it, like, makes me cry. But just that she realizes, she is going to get her summer's day. It just isn't going to look like she thought it did. So
okay,
this is a little bit of Summer's Day from Joan.
I see a brave new world, though it's still so far away. I see 10,000 sons and daughters put their swords away. When the fighting finally stops and the war is finally done, we will leave our swords behind and come marching home again. I see a summer's day, every family at peace. Joining hands, we'll tell the world, we'll shout it through the streets, that it's safe to come outside, that the battle's far behind, that God has brought us home at last, so step into the light, for the fighting finally stopped, and the war is finally done. We have left our swords behind and come marching home, forever home. But tomorrow I'll wake up and the war will not be done. So I have to stay strong, I have to believe that our summer's day will come. Please, God, help me stay strong and help me believe that my summer's day will come. Dun, dun, dun.
That's Joan. Yep, and Sound of Joan is very, we discovered it's very Phil Collins inspired.
It is very Phil Collins.
And a little Mark Schultz maybe sometimes.
We like Mark Schultz a lot. So there's definitely some influence there. But Joan, you know, she is a very fun character to write for. And because it's a tragedy, which is kind of a new thing, we've never written tragedy before, it's the more that we've gotten to know Joan, the more that we've seen that this is, you know, you read about someone in a history book, and it's very cold and it's very distant, and getting to see her actual words on a page and getting to really understand her as just as a person, has made writing about her death really hard, really sad.
Well, and the portrayals that we've seen of Joan are always very stiff, like very like not a real person, like this kind of like, oh, she was a messenger from God, like this kind of otherworldly person, and like she was a 16-year-old girl, and so just really trying to connect with that part of her, the like actual human part of her, not this glorified martyr part, but really just trying to present her as a girl. So. And
then killing her.
Yeah,
it's pretty
hard.
It's really hard. There's been like tearful sessions of writing songs and writing stuff, where we just get so invested in this girl and so heartbroken for her, but also so encouraged because her, you know, her legacy is great, is incredible.
Yep. So that is Joan, which will be, I mean, that is quite a ways off. Just because we have other projects we're really focusing on finishing right now. So if you have any questions about anything, remember we answering all your questions about our writing process, about our writing philosophy, about what we're trying to do with the Faithful Troubadour, about our shows, about the music, about our inspiration.
Yeah. So what are we trying to do with the Faithful Troubadour? I would love to know this. Tell me.
Trying to like, you know.
Yeah, we just really think that. You know, we've had the amazing opportunity of working with Spiritual Twist Productions in Garner, North Carolina, which is where we live, working with Natalie Snap and under Natalie Snap, and that's been an incredible experience. And we've really, through that, and learning from Natalie and sort of seeing the incredible way that theater can connect people, we found that, I mean, really, the potential for evangelism, the potential for sharing the gospel through theater is unlike anything we've really experienced anywhere else. And I've worked in church ministry for a long time, and the local church is still central to Christianity. It's still central to our faith, and is the most important thing, I would say. But beyond that, seeing the way that theater allows people to connect with an actor on stage, not like in a movie, not like in a book, that they're there, they're real. Seeing them there and seeing them go through things, and then to have the gospel come out through that, to have the story of Christ come out through that. We have found no better way to share the gospel and no more impactful way, because it encourages audiences to be vulnerable.
Yeah, and theater is such a great way to teach the audience how to have sympathy and empathy for different types of people. It's just like super, because it helps you to connect with someone maybe you wouldn't be able to, or connect with an aspect of yourself maybe that you haven't been able to confront, and that's just really a really powerful way to grow in sanctification as well as to teach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Scarlet, that works out where we.
Blows my nose. I had to be back.
Erin has a cold. She's blowing her nose with toilet paper. It's very embarrassing. So with Scarlet, that really looked where we were able to, because we had this narrator character, Alan Adale, we actually, near the end of Act 2, the show literally just comes to a screeching halt. Sort of when we get to really explore the way that a sinner can find hope in Christ through the character Will Scarlet, Alan is able to stop the show and just present really clearly the gospel. And he literally talks about it just as plainly and as boldly as we could possibly muster. And that, I think, is our favorite thing about Scarlet. I mean, that's the moment that we wrote the show for. So for Scarlet, that really is like a literal statement of the gospel, beginning to end, explaining the story of Christ over the course of about 90 seconds. And it's really powerful. In other shows, that translates to, with Fractured is some allegorical elements and deals with sin nature. And while it's equally powerful, and the pacing is important, we talked about pacing, but it comes down much more to this idea of Henry. He's convinced he can save himself. He's convinced. Henry Jekyll, yes. Jekyll and Hyde.
We call them by their first names.
Yes,
so.
Fractured is Jekyll and Hyde. And Henry Jekyll is this character who is just trying so desperately, clinging to the hope that he can save himself and that he doesn't need any help from anyone. And when he comes to the realization that ultimately that doesn't work. You can't live like that. You can't live completely self-sustaining. And with Christianity, there's so much hope in it, and there's so much joy in it, but it comes from surrender, and it comes from laying yourself down, not about closing yourself off.
Yeah, Fractured really nails home this idea that we don't have the weapons or the tools to fight sin and depression. The show also talks a lot about depression. We don't have the tools to fight those things by ourselves. Yeah. And how hard it is to fight alone and to feel like you're losing, and just to realize that we're not supposed to do it on our own. Jesus gives us the Holy Spirit to help us fight these things. That doesn't mean that they go away, or that we stop sinning, or that we stop being depressed. But it does mean that we have the hope, and we have the Word, and the Word is our weapon. The words of Jesus in the Bible. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a huge thing in it.
Yeah. All right, well, we pretty much got to wrap up now.
So this is your last chance to ask any questions you have about any of the things we've talked about, to maybe hear one last song, which Jeremy will be singing alone because of my cold. Hear a song, hear last tidbits, all of that. So.
Yeah. In the meantime, Eric, do you have any closing thoughts? Do you have anything you want to say?
Well, I'm really excited. I hope people like it.
I hope people like it. Yeah.
We are always available for questions. You can send us an email. You can shoot us a message on Facebook. Always, anything about whatever.
Yeah.
We love talking about our shows and...
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, all this, we're doing a bunch of stuff with social media and with his website and with, videos like this. And you know, we don't know what's going to happen with Faithful Troubadour. You know, God's going to do whatever he wants with it. But we just want to make ourselves available as a resource for people, for theaters, and also just to provide, you know, something nice, to put something good on Facebook and put something good out in the world that is honoring to God. And so it's such a joy for us as a couple to be able to do that together, you know. But also just to connect with you guys and to talk about these things, to talk about our love of theater and our belief in the medium, and also about just our passion for the gospel, which is at the heart of what we're doing.
You want to close out with one more song?
I mean, okay, we can do another song. What other song do you want to do?
Rebecca Hall would like to hear one more song, so we'll close out with one more song.
Let's do that. We can do the hero song. What do you think?
I mean, we could do a fun song, though. We haven't done a fun song today. Well, I guess we did All Aboard.
I'm all aboard. We could do the hero song. We do the pirate song.
I just feel like the hero still needs work.
It's fine. It's still a good song.
Yes, it is.
Let's do something else. Aaron doesn't want to do it.
Where's our list? So we could do Place to Be or Fractured Bit.
Let's do a song from Fractured. I think Fractured is our current thing. We'll pull up a list here.
Do people want heroes? Hopefully we'll get someone to sing.
Let's
People
do
Want
Trip's
Heroes.
song.
Okay, I will be there.
That'll be fun.
So, Trip Flanders from Fractured. He is the friend zone character. It is just before all of this. It's like the second scene. And oh, maybe it's the third scene. Maybe it's the fourth scene.
It's later, dear.
It is later than I thought it was. There it is. So Trip Flanders, he is the friend zone character. He is Lizzie's little assistant.
Friend zone character. He's more than that.
Yeah, but he's very great.
Yep.
But in Act 2, he has this moment where he kind of, I mean, it's a little intentional, but he also kind of slips up and is like, oh, like, I like you. And then she's like, what do you mean? And then he just has that moment where he just, like, explodes with all of his feelings that he's been holding in for a really long time. And so that is this song, which is very much a song. I have to blow my nose.
You're good. You go.
Yeah.
I Will Be There is in Act 2. Where Trip essentially is he's confessing his feelings for Lizzie. It's a straight up song about, like, I've been in the friend zone for years and I'm gonna break out with sort of this big just blah of emotions and feelings. So we wanted to write something really over the top, really exciting. We always kind of pictured the staging being just really dramatic and kind of a lot of flourish, and probably ends with him like standing on the table like this, and Lizzie would just sort of be sitting there with her coffee like, okay. That's kind of what we're picturing. Anyway, let me go through the song. I'll play just a little bit of it. Here we go. When you were cold that night in December, and I offered you my sweater, what I meant was I will be there. And that time that you were hungry, I walked in with a dinner for two. What I meant was I will be there. All those long days you were slaving away, waiting for your time to shine. I was there beside you, doing my best to make it easy, waiting for the time to let you know I will be there. No matter what new turns this life takes, you can count me in, 'cause I will be there. Wrap you in my arms when you're cold, a shoulder to lean on, a hand to hold. I can never find the words to say, but I just want you to know I see a girl with so much spunk and spirit. You are beautiful and strong and so alive. You make me want to be a better man and give you all I got and more. But for now, the best that I can offer is just a smile and a promise that I will be there no matter what new turns this life takes. You can count me in, 'cause I will be there. Wrap you in my arms when you're cold, a shoulder to lean on, a hand to hold. I can never find the words to say, but I just want you to know, to let you know I will be there no matter what new turns this life takes. You can count me in, 'cause I will be there. Wrap you in my arms when you're cold, a shoulder to lean on, a hand to hold. I can never find the words to say, but I just want you to know that I will always, I will always, I will always be there.
And then Lizzie's like, thank you.
And she says thank you.
So that is the end of our little Q&A session. If you'd like us to do something like this again, be sure to let us know in the comments. We would love to. We love to talk and also to eat tacos, which is what we're going to do now.
Tacos. Yes. Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out with us for an hour.
Yeah.
So please let us know if you have any more questions. And otherwise, we'll talk to you guys again soon. Wait, how do I actually stop the...
I think you click end live video.
End live.